comes around.
You know what, I wore black today just in honor of Johnny Cash. Aloha, it is Tuesday, May 7th, 2013 at 12:06 p.m. Hawaii Standard Time, and you are tuned in to Take Liberty with Lawrence Carnicelli. You know what, we're going to have an open conversation about the world we live in, what's going on, and what we can do about it. We want to have a conversation outside of the natural demagoguery and political positioning where we hold everybody accountable, especially our elected officials. And yes, we encourage political atheism for all. If you can hear me, you're tuned in to KAOI, 1110 AM and 96.7 FM, or streaming live on the interweb at KAOI1110.com. And a friend of mine, Sarita, is listening, streaming right now, and I want to wish you a happy belated birthday, Sarita. Take Liberty is brought to you by Maui Plumbing, 344-0642, the law offices of Kane and Heron, 242-9350, and Maui Surplus and Survival over at 900 Aha Street next to Hotspot Video in Wailuku. Aloha, I am Lawrence Carnicelli, and of course with me is Gary Forsberg.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I'm looking forward to another exciting show.
You know what, me too. Also with me, a very special guest from last week, a carryover, media junkie, sometimes musician, program director for Akaku, Maui Community Television, and co-host of the Weekly Dish on Friday mornings on this same exact show is Sean Michael. Aloha, Sean.
Good morning, everybody. What's happening?
You know what? It's not morning. I think it's actually afternoon.
Yes.
It's technically 12:08 right now, so it actually is
afternoon, everyone. Good morning, musicians.
There we go. That's even better. So, Gary, Sean, today's show I want to actually talk about President Obama, and specifically his assault on personal freedoms and civil liberties here in the United States. And
forgot to put a question mark after that.
Oh, that's right. Is he?
There you go.
Does he have? Has he been attacking our personal freedoms and civil liberties? You know, is he different from W? What has he done in the area of personal freedoms and civil liberties? Has it gotten better under his administration? Has it gotten worse? You know, is it just the status quo and we've been normalized to this whole thing and we don't even care anymore? So what I really want to do is have an aim for this discussion to keep, let's just try to keep comparative judgments out of this, like, okay, you know, like, oh, well, he's better than this or better than that or whatever it would be. No finger pointing. It's like, oh, Bush this, blah, blah, blah. Obama's a Muslim or something. You know, let's have a real conversation about personal freedoms and civil liberties and what this particular guy, let's just hold him accountable. Let's just have a discussion about what has he or hasn't done and what, you know, the choices that he personally has made. So, you know, and I also want to say that, you know, I mean, it's going to be easy for us to sit here and Monday morning quarterback him. And because I think that being commander-in-chief of the most powerful country in the world is not easy. Mm-hmm. And, you know, he's got a lot of really, really tough decisions. You know, it's really easy to say, like, oh, go do this. Well, there might be 100 reasons why he can't do that we don't even know about. So, I mean, I also want to throw that.
That's usually why I lose friends. Because I quote, make excuses for him.
Oh, okay.
You know, well, then sometimes they're based in reality, like there is a Congress. You know,
correct.
There's a Supreme Court, there's an administration, and he's not some all-superpower, all-knowing, everywhere at all times, makes every decision that are made at all moments of life for America.
Correct. And yet, see, that's the part, you bring in something really interesting because I think when we agree with a president's policies, we want him to be that. We want him to be all-powerful. We want him to be the commander-in-chief. We want him to say, like, oh, well, just make the decision and go do that. And then when we disagree with him, we go, like, hey, hang on a second. You're not supreme ruler here. You can't do that all on your own. We've got 3 branches of government that got to do that. So part of what I also want to do is, Gary, let's go ahead and open the phone lines just now that I've sort of set the table. 242-7800, 242-7800. You can also, I know a lot of times people, you don't want to actually call in and have your voice on the air, but if you post something to the Facebook site, Take Liberty with Lawrence Carnicelli, if you go to Facebook and you post it there, I will read them on the air. Any comment or question that you have. Also, if you're a Twitter person, it's at Take_Liberty is the Twitter account, so you can also tweet something at us, and we will do that. So 242-7800, what we're talking about is President Obama and personal freedoms and civil liberties. And so really the first place I go to, and the reason why this sort of came up for me was yesterday all over the Internet, was this speech that he made at where was it? Ohio University, Ohio State. It was Trish the Dish, Ohio State University.
This is a suspect already.
Exactly. Well, if he made it the Ohio State. As a matter of fact, that's David Kane as well. He's also from that.
The cynic in me will identify that as one of the main swing states.
Ah, see, so he's there at a swing state, suddenly saying this. So I'm going to read a quote from the speech itself. It says, unfortunately, now he's talking to the graduating class of 2013 for Ohio State University.
All four of them.
I'm not even going to say what their IQs are. Unfortunately, you've grown up hearing voices that incessantly warn of government as nothing more than some separate, sinister entity that's at the root of all of our problems. Some of these voices also do their best to gum up the works. They'll warn that tyranny always lurking just around the corner. You should reject these voices. Now that's the part that came to me, was you should reject these voices, because what they suggest is that our brave and creative and unique experiment in self-rule is somehow just a sham with which we can't be trusted. So essentially is I think what he's kind of doing is he's taking a page out of the Department of Army's PsyOps Field Manual.
Ooh. Okay.
Which is he's saying, okay, there's this bandwagon and inevitable victory. Like basically like, hey, listen, there's a bunch of kooks out here and we are going to eventually win. Then he also, what he does is he obtains disapproval. He says, listen, we're going to disapprove of these particular people. Then we're also going to go ahead and name call them and label them this particular thing. Then, which then we're able to then pinpoint who the enemy is, which then creates social disapproval. So which that's right out of, Field Manual number 33-1 of the PsyOps of the Department of Army, where to me, sit there and go like, okay, here's these people out here saying that the government is tyrannical, and
are they not saying that?
No, they are saying that.
Okay.
They are saying that. But what the President of the United States is saying is you should reject these voices. And so he's standing in front of the class of 2013 at Ohio State University, and he's saying you should reject these voices that say that the government is in any way, shape, or form tyrannical. Now, if I go to then, let's look at what this guy, not what George W. did or what Reagan did or anything. If we just start to look at what this guy did, and we said like, okay, is the government tyrannical or not?
Okay. I'll go down this road with you.
Okay, so this is where I'm going with this. I just go, okay, I want to start with, to me, one of the ones that's the most egregious, and that's the NDAA. The National Defense Authorization Act, which he personally signed.
Correct.
He also signed the Patriot Act. And everybody says, no, that was Bush. Bush originally signed the Patriot Act, but it was set to expire, and he re-signed it. So his signature is also on the Patriot Act.
Right.
But I'm going to go to the National Defense Authorization Act, which is essentially what can happen in the National Defense Authorization Act is the United States military, not just, say, Department of Homeland Security or whatever it is, but the United States military can go into your house. They can take you out of your house. They can then remove you from the country, and they can hold you indefinitely without ever even charging you of anything.
Yeah, which is okay.
I mean, to me,
the weird thing on this is, as I get like this NDAA thing, it sounds bad on the surface, and I've gone through all these rounds and rounds about defending Obama for signing that, because he put a signing statement where he didn't agree with that particular portion.
Correct.
He did not write the NDAA. It was written by Republican congressmen during Bush's administration. He essentially renewed it with newer language.
Correct. He did renew it, but the part that is actually on the record, though, was he was the one, though, it was his administration that inserted it to include U.S. citizens. Originally, in the original draft, it did not include U.S. citizens.
That's why I like you, because you said his administration, which I appreciate that you're not just...
Sure, it's not him.
You're just not going after him personally.
Right. I mean, I do get that it's just like, okay, he's the pinnacle of this organization, but it still is a branch of government. It's this huge, huge branch of government. And guys, you too can call in at 242-7800, 242-7800, right after the break. And also, you can also hit me up on Facebook. The Facebook site is Take Liberty with Lawrence Carnicelli, or at Take_Liberty on Twitter, and we'll be right back.
Doomsday preppers, hunters, campers, paintball players. You've all got a new headquarters. It's Maui Surplus and Survival in Wailuku. Maui Surplus and Survival carries boots, camping gear, all types of camouflage, survival knives, practice grenades, and a huge selection of Mountain House freeze-dried rations. Hit them up today in Wailuku at 900 Aha Street, just up from Sack and Save, next to Hotspot Video. Maui Surplus and Survival. Have you ever called a plumber?
Oh, yeah.
Did they not show up on time, or did they do a bad job? Or if they did show up on time and do a good job, was the bill outrageous?
Outrageous!
Well, next time call Maui Plumbing. They're fast, friendly, do excellent work, and are competitively priced. Visit them online at MauiPlumbingInc.com or call them at 344-0642. 344-0642. That's 344-0642 for Maui Plumbing. So, you're driving down the street on a hot day, minding your own business, when all of a sudden, out of the blue, some bar along the street has a beautiful neon sign advertising cold beer. Entrapment, right? Anyway, one thing leads to another, and several hours later, you're crawling out of that joint. Now, you know at this point that you should be calling a cab or a friend, anything but getting behind the wheel. But you do it anyway, and shame on you, pal.
They can drive.
They can drive. You only manage to get a couple of feet before an alert Maui County police officer notices your erratic driving and pulls you over, making our roadways safer from people like you. After you trip over a crack in the sidewalk and soil yourself, the officer reads you your rights. Now here's the important part. Shut up. You're drunk and you're stressed out, and that cop is doing his job by trying to get you to talk. Remember, anything you say can and will be used against you in court. You say nothing and you call Kane and Herron. You're now accused of a crime and you have rights. Say nothing and call 242-9350. 242-9350. Write it down, put it in your wallet, 242-9350 for Kane and Herron.
Aloha, welcome back to Take Liberty with Lawrence Carnicelli, brought to you by the law offices of Kane and Herron, the attorneys with heart. Also, Kane and Herron, or David Kane has his own radio show on Thursdays, the same exact time slot. So my show's on Tuesdays, his show's on Thursdays, and that is David Kane Has Issues. And I believe that we will be discussing the environment again, and specifically probably the Maui County environment. Thanks to Rob Parsons for coming in on last week's show. So
I'll be tuned in for that. You know I love that.
Oh, you know that. Oh, gosh, yeah, you're all over that.
My picture is on the wall in the county building.
I think you posted something on their Facebook page that was to the effect of, just mention my name and watch him cringe.
I've entered the dubious title of I'm now on the do not respond list.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Wow, how does somebody get on that list? You overly post. Okay, so back to the topic at hand. And, guys, you can call in at 242-7800. That's 242-7800 on the Facebook page at Take Liberty with Lawrence Carnicelli, or Twitter, Take_Liberty. And what we're talking about is President Obama. We're talking about personal freedoms and civil liberties, and whether or not is okay. So he says that there's these voices. Yesterday at Ohio State University says there's these voices out there saying that the government's this tyrannical thing, and don't listen to those voices. And yet, I was starting down this list of all these different things that he's done to me that are very egregious and are things that absolutely attacked personal freedoms and civil liberties. And we ended with talking about the NDAA and how his administration, and again, in whether or not it was him or not, but he did sign it. His administration, that originally the NDAA was not going to include U.S. citizens, but they put that they are the ones that actually put that language in there to include U.S. citizens.
Right.
The other thing too is that I don't think really gets a whole lot of play, and that is drones. And specifically, what I'm going to go to with the drones thing is he has a kill list. The president has a list of people, and he personally, and this is not an administration thing, this is a, Barack Hussein Obama thing, that he personally signs off on every single drone killing. And so that to me is you go like, okay, how about Anwar al-Awlaki? And then his son, Abdullah Ran. He was his 14-year-old son. He personally signed off on killing both of those guys. Mm-hmm. Now, maybe they were enemy combatants or whatever it is, but they were never charged with anything. They were never convicted of anything. And he personally signed off on, yes, go kill that guy and then go kill his 14-year-old son.
So you're saying he doesn't apologize for America and he actually is not soft on terror?
No, to me, is what is even soft on terror, because is what I'm talking about is, I mean, to me, I think what you're doing is you're trying to lump in another conversation, in my opinion, which I know you're really good at, but it's just, like, is he soft on terror or not? But see, I'm an anti-war guy. That's where I'm going with it. It's just like, so to me, it's just like, I'm not like, this right-wing guy that you're suddenly going to go, okay, yeah, like, we have to kill those bad guys. I'm going like, no, we don't need to kill anybody.
I'm not saying you, I'm saying the majority of the House of Representatives agrees with the drone strikes.
And that's true.
So until there's a majority that disagrees with the drone strikes, it ain't going to stop.
Correct. No, and you're right. But see, this is okay, then I'm going to leave the drones. You're right. So then you know what I need to do is I need to divert away from actual talking about drone strikes.
Because I have a kill list, too. I do. Want to see it?
Sure. But the thing is, do you have the power to actually do that, though? So this is like here, 242-7800, 242-7800, or on the Facebook page, Take Liberty with Lawrence Carnicelli. So what he did, though, is it's like, okay, so he has these drone strikes, and there's signature strikes, and what's the other one called? There's signature and personality strikes.
They're awful, by the way, if you guys are wondering. I'm not a fan of these things.
Right. They're completely awful, and they kill, thousands and thousands of children and innocent women, and here's the part that I think is ironic. There's not one confirmed kill. Not one. There's not one confirmed kill with a drone strike, because everything is just a mess, and they can't go in there and say, like, oh, yeah, we got that bad guy that we thought we were going to get.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the thing to me is again, going to the topic of the day and his assault on personal freedoms and civil liberties, is these two people, Anwar al-Awlaki and his son, are American citizens. And that was, to me, it's just like, okay, that kind of changes. It's a game changer for me, at least, to sit there and go like, okay, it's one thing to say, okay, there's these bad guys over there, and there's this Al-Qaeda thing that's this mythical bad guy terrorist that they're coming after us and they want to get us. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to get them before they get us. But it's a game changer when it's saying, okay, this guy is a U.S. citizen.
Mm-hmm.
So he does that. Then let's talk about Osama bin Laden. And then there's all kinds of discussion as to whether or not, that was good. To me, he still murdered somebody. He still ordered the assassination of someone that was never charged with anything, was never convicted of anything. He was never even on the charged with the whole 9/11 attack.
Right. A lot of people don't realize that.
He was never charged with that.
He was never charged with it.
Right. And so what we did is we quote unquote captured him, and then we killed him at sea and dumped his body in the ocean. It's
not a conspiracy. There's no evidence.
Right.
That's why he's not charged.
Right. And that's the whole thing. So that's the part that's crazy. But and then there's people like, I even have friends that are Democrats that, like, we said that, when the Republicans attack Obama, what they do is they say, oh, well, he killed, Osama bin Laden, and you gotta give him credit for that. And I'm going, okay, yeah, I'll give him credit for murdering someone. And, I believe we do have somebody on the line.
God.
Aloha, you are live on the air with Take Liberty. What's your name and where are you calling from?
It's Tully. I'm in Wailuku right now.
Hey, thanks for calling, bro.
Yeah, I mean, I think you and David Kane, we got to have more of these shows. This is exactly what we should be talking about.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. What's your take on this?
Very interesting a subject came up over the weekend, and I would love to hear your opinion on it. The kid that survived of the two Boston bombers.
Okay.
If he was not a U.S. citizen, would they have already shipped him to Gitmo?
God, that's a great question. That's a great question. Well, because I think the one part, though, is they were going to actually try him as an enemy combatant, which would have then put him in that particular...
So that's like an automatic revoke of citizenship once they declare you an enemy combatant?
Right, because then you no longer fall under, I think that David actually talked about this on his show, is you no longer fall under civil jurisdiction, you fall under military jurisdiction, so you get a military trial, I believe is what it is. And so that's the thing with the whole Gitmo part is those people, that's why they can just be held indefinitely and tortured and everything like that, is because they don't have citizenship. So that would be an interesting question, is what do you think about that, Sean? Do you think, like, if this kid wasn't a U.S. citizen, would they ship him off to Gitmo?
That's a tough one, because for me, like, I get the libertarian point of view of, like, that angle of the debate we're having.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, most of Congress is not libertarian.
Correct.
They're either Republican or Democrat. And this is the problem where we see libertarians and people like myself against the NDNA and indefinite detention, against Guantanamo. You have Obama who wants to close Guantanamo, but Congress won't let him. So you have this vicious circle of nothing can really be done. You have a Republican right wing that believes in freedom and constitutional rights and personal liberty, except for this kid. And, and it's kind of like, so all of a sudden the hypocrisies are exposed, and it's really hard for an administration to do anything that can be done. I mean, you kind of...
Why didn't if they put in there that U.S. military could apprehend you inside your home, why didn't the Supreme Court declare that unconstitutional?
It hasn't been challenged yet. Is the way that the system works is just when Congress passes a law and it's signed in or they pass a bill and it's signed into law, it doesn't go directly to the Supreme Court to then be judged as to whether or not it is constitutional or not. It has to be challenged in some particular way, and that's how it gets there. So it's just like ultimately, will it get there? It's going to have to at some point in time.
That alludes to the whole thing where I'm saying the system's broken, where Obama can't make a decision and do it, or Congress can't want something to happen, or something that is constitutional can't just happen. I lost my train of thought.
That's okay.
God, I know, Sean, you're a closet Rush fan, so that happens.
Oh, Lord. What I was getting at is the NDNA. Yes, where the indefinite detention is legal, and Obama is accused of signing it. He had no choice, kind of like with the Monsanto Protection Rider bill. The president no longer has the power to do a line item veto. So he's given a bill, the NDNA, which has a lot, like 90% of it is needed and necessary for us to fight wars. So his only choice was to not sign it or sign it in its entirety.
Yeah,
which is why it's kind of hard to blame him for signing it.
I think that, but see, to me is, and that's part of, okay, what ultimately does need to happen in Washington, and there's this big machinery, and why, to me, what I do is I look at the big picture, and it's just like, okay, I mean, I'm not giving Obama a pass, but I also don't give W a pass. I don't give any of these guys a pass, because it's just like, okay, I get that if we were to take and vote out all 546 guys that we put, men and women that we put into D.C., and we put 546 new ones in tomorrow, not a lot's going to change because of the machinery that is D.C., the lobbyists,
Earmarks is the biggest problem you were just talking about.
Sure, I mean, earmarks is...
something huge that you want to get passed, and then they put all these riders on there with it.
Well, a rider's different than an earmark. A rider is different than an earmark. A rider is something that they attach to the bill. An earmark is actually where are they going to spend the specific appropriations. And so it's a little, they're saying like, okay, we're going to spend all of this money. Where does it then go? That's what earmarks are, is where you spend the money, not necessarily the law that's passed. But, you bring up a couple of great questions. I mean, what do you think about drones?
It's turning us into enemies of the world.
Amen.
I do not think that this is good policy. This remote control warfare, and we decide who lives and dies, is going to continue to make us less popular, and I think it's a bad path. Here's another crazy one from the weekend, and I'm a nerd that talks about this with my friends.
I like this one already.
All right.
The reason they are not looking further into the source of the sarin gas that's been used in Syria is because it was manufactured in Iraq.
Oh gosh, you know what? Is I appreciate you calling. We're up against a break right now, so we're gonna have to pay a couple of bills and be right back in 90 seconds, guys. 242-7800. If you want to call in during the break, we'll put you on hold and you'll be the first coming out.
Here's what your neighbors are saying about Maui Plumbing.
Hi, my name's Jim Wicker, and my wife and I own Waiola Vacation Paradise. We're a licensed bed and breakfast in Lahaina. Recently, we had a problem where a shower in one of our units was just not working. We called Maui Plumbing. We needed it fixed immediately because there were actually people in the unit, and he responded same day. For anybody considering switching their plumbers or trying somebody new, I would say give Maui Plumbing a try. I'm completely satisfied with everything he's done.
Call Maui Plumbing 344-0642, 344-0642.
When you get into a little trouble, the legal system can be a bit intimidating.
Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Why don't you answer him?
He's talking pig Latin. I don't know what he's saying.
He's asking you if you swear.
No, but I know all the words.
Dealing with judges, cops, and prosecutors is serious business.
Hello.
You won't be laughing when you're locked up in the Maui County clink.
Double-crossing you!
I'll murder you.
I'm a victim of circumstance.
But seriously, knowing your legal rights is important. Kane & Herron has 6 attorneys to assist you. From divorce and family law to criminal and debt forgiveness, Kane & Herron can help. Don't be a stooge. Call Kane & Herron, the attorneys with heart, 242-9350. That's 242-9350. Doomsday preppers, hunters, campers, paintball players. You've all got a new headquarters. It's Maui Surplus and Survival in Wailuku. Maui Surplus and Survival carries boots, camping gear, all types of camouflage, survival knives, practice grenades, and a huge selection of Mountain House freeze-dried rations. Hit them up today in Wailuku at 900 Eha Street, just up from Sack and Save, next to Hotspot Video. Maui Surplus and Survival.
Aloha, guys. Welcome back to Take Liberty with Lawrence Carnicelli, brought to you by Maui Surplus and Survival. Boots, camping gear, Mountain House, freeze-dried rations, knives, Maui Surplus.
And grenades.
And practice hand grenades.
What?
Paintball accessories. The slide into anarchy and apocalypse won't be complete without a visit to Maui Surplus and Survival. They're located over at 900 Eha Street in Wailuku, next to Hotspot Video. And guys, somebody did actually call on the during the break, but they didn't hold through the break. If we're on the air and you call and you hear the show, it stops ringing, you hear the show, that means you're on hold. So if you hear the show, and so I guess we actually do have somebody. So aloha, you are live on the air. Take Liberty with Lawrence Carnicelli. What's your name and where are you calling from?
I got a question. I just heard that it said that they want to put Guantanamo Bay. If they do that, what are you going to do with all those detainees? Were they going to let them go free, or put them in U.S. prisons, or what?
Well, the conversation as far as if they close it, you mean if they close Guantanamo Bay? To me, I'll give you my opinion on it. I mean, to me, the thing that is egregious about Guantanamo Bay is that we are holding people without charging them of anything or giving them their day in court. And we are a country ruled by, we are a constitutional republic in this country, and people have rights. And one of those rights is to a speedy trial, a fair and speedy trial. These people these humans are not being given that. They're not being given their day in court. And so to me, as far as what's the answer to Guantanamo Bay and what we should do, in my opinion, is either charge them with something and give them their day in court, or let them go. One of the two.
Yeah, we're talking less than 100 people. This isn't thousands of terrorists. It's actually a small handful. That there's very few people there. It would not be a problem to send them into our existing judicial system. But you have to charge them with something. You can't just leave them in a bunker and pretend that no one knows who they are.
Right, which is being done now.
I don't have the exact numbers, but I heard there's approximately 12 of them that are unchargeable, and I'm not sure what that means. Maybe there's a communications gap, and they not even know who they are. But,
I don't know what that is. I think they might even be a couple of minors.
Yeah, but a majority of them have not even been given charges, and they just don't know what to do with them.
Right.
What country do people come from?
You need to turn your radio down because we're getting a bit of an echo. If you could turn your radio down and ask that question again.
What country were these detainees coming from?
It's actually it's in Cuba. Guantanamo Bay is in Cuba, but there's this little piece of it that's sort of technically ours. You know, it's just like is it leased land or but we actually have the rights to be there. It's technically on the island of Cuba.
Okay, these prisoners that come from what country?
They came from all over the world. They are quote unquote terrorists. They're people that were bad guys that supposedly did bad things, wanted to do bad things to us, and we apprehended them and didn't know what to do with them. So we brought them to Guantanamo Bay, and that's where we hold them indefinitely.
Some were captured in the battlefield, and they said they want to kill Americans, and they said, "Okay, you're coming with us."
Right.
That's really their only crime was what they said. They don't have any evidence that they've actually done anything.
Right. Just let them go. We're not doing anything to them. Let these bad guys who are killing us, let them go. Is that what you're saying?
Well, they don't have evidence that they killed us. That's why they don't know what to do with them.
No, to me, though,
wanting to do it is not a crime.
Right. Yeah. Right. Wanting to do bad things to a country that is bombing your country, there's no law against that. So in my opinion, it's just like, you know what? Yeah, there's bad guys out there in the world, and they want to do bad things to us. But I guess where I take the conversation from that is, why do they want to do bad things to us?
But they caught these guys and said it because we're going to do bad things to us. Why? They set them free and then go back to their country and regroup and start up again?
Some of them have actually been cleared of the charges that they were brought in on. The few that have been taken to a military tribunal or whatever the form is, and they realized they didn't have anything. I don't know if we should debate the whole Guantanamo. The thing is the challenge is our president wants to close the base, and Congress will not let him. So you have to remember, when you blame whose fault it is, you can't point at the president. Not to defend him, but Congress can end the war today if they wanted to without his approval. So you got to remember that Obama is not the dictator of this country. You can tell him what to do.
But the one thing that Obama could do, though, is and again, in my personal take on Gitmo, is, okay, try him with something or let him go. He does have the power to do that. He is the executive branch, or he is the head of the executive branch. So he can say, okay, listen, we've got these bad guys, and no, they're not charged with anything, and we're just holding them indefinitely, and we're torturing them and the like. And so his fingerprints are on that. And so it's just like, listen, either charge him with something or let him go. Now, that's political suicide, you know, and of course, all of these guys, as we've talked about on the show, if you want to be president, you know, you are a megalomaniac, and they sit there and think about, well, you know, what is this going to look like through the course of history? You know, what is my legacy going to be? Oh, you're the guy that let all the bad guys go and that are now fighting us and trying to kill us again. Guys, you can call in and give us your opinion, whether it's about Gitmo, whether it's about how President Obama is handling that or not, whether it's Congress needs to get out of the way and just go ahead and close this thing, or any of the other things. We're also talking about personal freedoms and civil liberties and how they are eroding. 242-7800, 242-7800. You can also get us on Facebook, Take Liberty at Lawrence Carnicelli, or on Twitter at Take_Liberty. So, you know, the thing that I guess is I know when W was in office, there was all these people talking about they wanted him to be tried for war crimes. And, you know, I'm all for that. I think that Bush and Cheney should be tried for war crimes, but I also think the guy that's currently in office that is a Nobel laureate should also be tried for war crimes as well. And I do believe we have a caller. Aloha, you are live on the air. Take Liberty with Lawrence Carnicelli. What is your name and where are you calling from?
My name is Mike Dela Cruz. I'm from Kihei.
Hey, thanks, Mike. I appreciate you calling.
I just have 2 points.
Okay.
My first point would be, during World War II, didn't all the Nazis get trials?
Yes, they did.
At Nuremberg?
Yep. That's exactly where I was going.
If the Nazis got trials in Nuremberg, why don't the Guantanamo people get trials?
Well, you know, that's interesting. I was watching a video. That's a great question, Mike. And I was watching a video of Noam Chomsky was talking about how essentially the United States is the greatest terrorist nation in the course of history. And he talked about there's the International Criminal Court and there's the International Court of Justice. And essentially the ICC, the International Criminal Court, they would be the ones that would be, say, in charge of coming after the United States and saying, hey, listen, you can't do this. I mean, this goes all the way back to the Magna Carta. We're violating the Magna Carta, for God's sakes, which is, innocent until proven guilty in a fair and speedy trial. That goes way, way, way back. But here's the thing is we are the only country that's ever rejected, and this is, again, I haven't researched this and find out when or where, but Noam Chomsky talked about how the United States is the only country to reject one of the decisions made by these courts. And so, essentially, because we're the biggest dog on the block and we have the biggest stick and we're the bullies, we can just say, you know what, nope, you're not going to do that because we're going to go ahead and do whatever we want to do.
I have a second point.
Okay.
My second question would be, the way technology is stolen by, for example, the Chinese. They know how to do our submarines, they know how to do our planes, everything else. Mm-hmm. What makes anybody think that they can't do a drone? And let's assume that they did a drone.
Okay.
And they gave the drone to some country, who knows where in the Middle East.
Let's say North Korea.
Well, I was thinking more of near our battlefields, like in Afghanistan, for example.
Okay.
And let's say some rebels over in Afghanistan, some Taliban, got a hold of some drones, and now they're firing drones at our people. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. How would we react to that?
I completely agree with you, Mike. I mean, I think that what's good for the goose is good for the gander, and we need to hold ourselves accountable.
The problem I see with the drones, and I have is real dread, is that, it's like I'm an older guy, so I can remember what it felt like when the United States was the only country that had the atom bomb. And it was a very unique situation, that we had then. It's almost that same situation now with the drones, in a smaller sense. We have the drones. No one else is really using drones. Mm-hmm. But you know what? My fear is that, one of these days, other countries are going to be using drones, and they're going to be using them in some nasty places, and we may not, against us.
Correct.
Either on our homeland or at war against our brave troops somewhere, and then we will have no recourse at all.
Correct.
Uh-huh.
Well, Mike, what you talk about is a couple of things, and I think one of it is, why do they hate us? Why?
I was going to get to that. Or maybe we just need to address the whether you believe in the 9/11 conspiracy or not. The stated reason we were attacked on that day was our support for Israel. Right. End of story.
Well, I don't think that's all of it, though. That's not
what Al-Qaeda said.
Well, that's one of the things that they said. But it's funny. I actually right now have in front of me is the reading list that Ron Paul gave to Rudy Giuliani in 2008 when Ron Paul suggested that 9/11 happened. Or I'll put it this way: they don't hate us because we're free. They don't hate us. They don't hate us because we're prosperous. They hate us because we're over there killing them. And here's the reading list. And is Ron Paul said that in the 2008 debates, Republican debates, and Rudy Giuliani went crazy. And so the very next day, Ron Paul gave him a reading list. And one was the 9/11 Commission report. And it says exactly in there what you just said, Sean. There's also a book called Blowback by Chalmers Johnson, which basically just talks about the cost and the consequences of war and how there's blowback to what we're doing.
You break it, you bought it, like Colin Powell said.
Right. Imperial Hubris, which is by Anonymous, but basically is that we're losing the war and what we're doing is very irresponsible.
It's amazing. It's amazing how many things go wrong. Like, I can remember during the Vietnam War, before the Vietnam War, it says if Vietnam falls, my gosh, it's going to be like everything is going to fall over there, And then before you know it, Australia, if Vietnam falls, Australia is going next. Blah 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 blah. Well, you can bring that forward to today and say, I hear all this hubris about if Afghanistan falls and now the Taliban has a place to put their people, we're going to be in big trouble. We better fight them there instead of at home. I don't buy that.
I don't buy that, and I don't buy the current argument.
Bring all our troops home.
I don't buy the current argument to get involved in Syria either, which is, quote, to send a message.
Right. And Mike,
what exactly is the message?
Well, you don't need a message. The message is you're going to fight terror. That's the message.
And
that's the dumbest thing ever.
Right. And that's a war is we've talked about this on my show here and then also on David Kane Has Issues on Thursday, is the war against terrorism is not a war that you can win, but it is a war that you can lose. And Mike, I do believe we have to hit a break right now, but thank you very much for calling in. I really appreciate you listening. I really appreciate you calling. We do have somebody on hold. If you want to go ahead and hold through the break, you'll be the first one coming out the other side in 90 seconds.
Hi, my name is Catherine, and I've lived on Maui for 14 years.
We're talking with Catherine about her experience with the law firm of Kane & Herron, the attorneys with heart.
I've needed the services of Kane & Herron a total of 3 times, Pete. Oh, 4. Let me correct myself, a total of 4 times.
I've received messages from you where you say, believe it or not, I need you guys' help again.
That's the truth.
But that happens. Situations come up that you were not expecting.
Exactly, and every single time Kane & Herron has come through and helped me.
Call Kane & Herron, the attorneys with heart.
I felt comfortable calling Kane & Herron. They were there to give me options.
242-9350.
The staff at Kane & Herron definitely cared. They have been the attorneys with heart.
Did they offer you coffee?
Yes, they offered me coffee.
242-9350 for Kane & Herron.
I had no idea Kane & Herron could handle so many issues.
242-9350.
Call Kane & Herron, the attorneys with heart. 242-9350.
Thanks, Catherine.
Doomsday preppers, hunters, campers, paintball players. You've all got a new headquarters. It's Maui Surplus and Survival in Wailuku. Maui Surplus and Survival carries boots, camping gear, all types of camouflage, survival knives, practice grenades, and a huge selection of Mountain House freeze-dried rations. Hit them up today in Wailuku at 900 Aha Street, just up from Sack and Save, next to Hotspot Video. Maui Surplus and Survival.
Aloha, my name's Nicole Benedict, and I live here in Kihei, Hawaii. In the middle of a busy rush one day, my coffee shop all of a sudden had water spewing all over the floor and out of the wall. I didn't know what to do, so I called Maui Plumbing. Ray was nice enough to answer the phone, and although he was very busy that day, he heard the emergency in my voice, and he made the time to come on down, check it out, and he was so wonderful he fixed it right then and there.
Call Maui Plumbing 344-0642, 344-0642.
Aloha, guys. Welcome back to Take Liberty with Lawrence Carnicelli, brought to you by Maui Plumbing, 344-0642, 344-0642 for Maui Plumbing. They're my plumber, they're Gary's plumber, they're Sean's plumber. They should be your plumber, too. They show up on time, and they answer their phone. If they don't answer their phone, they will call you right back, 344-0642. And I believe somebody did hold through the break. The most patient caller we got. Aloha, you're live on the air with Take Liberty with Lawrence Carnicelli. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, guys. It's Gary, the grumpy old man from Wailuku.
Gary, I love it. I was hoping you were going to call today.
I like grumpy people.
I have a couple points. One, on the drone issue, I really think it's kind of a false issue. Would everybody feel better if there were American pilots risking their lives in those planes? Would that make it okay?
I think that is the argument for drones. And I get that is, but I think what it is it would make it more real, maybe. I mean, is that the case where it's just sitting there going like, okay, what we're doing is we're willing to risk American lives. I'm willing, for the president to say, hey, listen, I'm willing to risk, look you in the eye, Gary, and say, you know what, I'm going to send your son or your grandson or your granddaughter over to this far-off land, and what we're doing is worth your daughter or granddaughter's life. And so to me, the drone thing is it takes a certain element of personalness and risk out of it, and it becomes just like, we're not risking anything. We just got some guy with a PlayStation controller in Florida killing kids in Syria. Yeah.
Well, what I have to say to that is, the people that are making the decisions aren't the ones doing the risking. And you can kind of carry that logic down to we should just go back to swords. We shouldn't have any stand-away weapons of any kind. No long-range, missiles, no long-range cannons.
Mm-hmm. I like where you're going with this.
If you follow, just to follow that.
Well, I like where you're going with this. I don't think a congressman should have a vote to go to war if none of his family members are in the military.
Yeah, I mean, but that's been the way of the history throughout most of modern history. I guess in the ancient world, the actual generals and the kings did, in fact, go out and fight and get killed. But that's been hundreds of years ago. and that's not really going to change. So I really do kind of see, because I don't think it would make any real difference other than maybe a public spot. That is one of the things people are talking about, make a no-fly zone in Syria. Well, what happens when the first airman gets shot down and killed in Syria because we're protecting whoever the rebels are we think are on our side? Then what do we do? Then is that excuse to invade?
Well, you always make a no-fly zone hoping someone will shoot at you. That's kind of the point.
Making a no-fly zone is an act of war.
I just don't see the drone per se as the issue, because it is, in fact, still a person there looking and making the decisions.
Right.
They're just not in that craft any longer.
Yeah, it's a valuable tool, that's for sure. It just
I just don't see that big a difference between the person in the plane and the person not in the plane.
I think what people got so fired up at the beginning was because everyone knew there was drones, is at first the White House wouldn't admit they were using them, which got people even more angry. If they would have come out during the war in Afghanistan and said we're using drones, we wouldn't be talking about it today. We'd already know they were being used. But since they tried to deny they were using them, it makes them seem eviler. I mean, war is evil enough.
Right, and to me, whether
we're using tanks that kill just as many people.
Yeah, and to me, whether it's we're using drones or we're using piloted aircraft, it's, why are we over there bombing these villages anyways? And to me, I'm anti any of that. And Gary, I really, really appreciate you calling in again this week. We look forward to hearing from you next week. But we do have another caller that's on the line. Oh, we lost that another caller. Okay, you two could call in 242-7800, 242-7800. Also on Facebook at Take Liberty with Lawrence Carnicelli, or tweet us, take_liberty.
Can I pick your brain, man?
Go for it.
What do you think about the Benghazi thing? Have you been following the reports as of today?
I guess as of today. I'll tell you what, let's put that on hold for a second. Let's go ahead and take this caller. Aloha caller, you are live on the air with Take Liberty. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Fred from Kihei.
Hey, Fred.
I'm so glad that you're down there, but I know you're not going to want to talk about this, but when you look at 9/11 and you see that 2 airplanes knocked down 3 steel buildings in one day, and Mr. Silverstein that owned the building 700
we talked about this earlier in the show.
fire chief decided they'd pull the building. You cannot rig a 47-story building to come down into the basement in 9 hours. That's the smoking gun. Thank you, guys.
All right, thanks, Fred. I do appreciate that. Yes,
I'm aware of that theory. I read it on Craigslist every day too.
Right.
I mean, I know exactly what you're talking about, Fred. There was 2 planes and 3 buildings fell, and one of them is very suspicious. No secret there.
Right, yeah.
I'm not going to prevent someone from talking about it.
Well, and the thing is what we're going to do about every month and a half or so, we are going to have the Conspiracy Theory show. We had a show 2 weeks ago with Johnny A. was on here, and we did nothing but conspiracy theories, and we are going to do that again here probably in a couple of weeks coming up. Yeah, we'll do it right around the full moon. We'll try to do it right around the full moon just to make it kind of fun. But to go back to, you were talking to me about Benghazi.
Yeah, well,
and I guess okay. What's the latest and greatest this morning?
Well, my thing was that I've been fighting it from the beginning. I guess I come from, because you have to be on a side. This is America. I come from the Democrat side that says there was no conspiracy, and of course we did all that we could have done. The right wing back before today was saying that he was watching this in real time and there was a stand-down order, and these people would have been alive. We were watching this attack in real time. We were told not to send troops, and we lied to the media about it.
Okay.
And because all of those claims were made about what we were doing wrong about Benghazi, it seemed like we did something wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Not one of them has come true. All of them have been debunked. Yet it still continues that people think there was something nefarious that happened with our government in Benghazi.
Well, there is something nefarious that did happen, and that is this. Jay Carney, who is the president's press secretary, the President Obama, and Hillary Clinton, all 3 of them, came out and for 2 weeks, said that this was about a video.
Right.
And that was a lie.
Now, did that cause
all three of those guys.
A lie, yeah.
No, that to me is the problem.
But did that cause those people to die?
I don't know.
They were already dead.
I don't know, but see, again, this is no different than what Fred just talked about with 9/11. I don't know what happened in 9/11, but I know that there's a story out there that changed a few different times, and that now there's this quote unquote official, narrative, And to me, the official narrative that they were stuck in, I mean, they were adamant about it was about this guy that made this YouTube video.
Okay.
And my president.
Who told them that?
I don't know.
The CIA.
Well, but here's the thing:
the CIA told them that was the reason.
So we can still sit there and say,
but we don't want to blame the CIA. We want to blame Obama and Hillary.
But see, the thing is she's the head of the State Department, and we still don't know. You can say that it was debunked, but I have personally, I mean, because it's funny. I was going to bring up Benghazi.
No, they did continue the narrative, but the thing that the quote right wing is upset about is there could have been something done, but what they did on a talk show days later would not have prevented any of this.
But you look at it this way. If a Republican was a president at that time when that happened, all the left-wing pundits would be doing the same thing.
They keep trying to say that.
And that's the part that really, I think, Gary, you bring up a great point, and that's part of what I really want to have this, that's why I wanted
to choose a side.
Right, because, I mean, that's part of what I want to do on this show is not choose a side and sit there and go like, okay, you have to choose a side and say, oh, is the president culpable or is he not? And you say like, oh, it's been debunked, or, it's just like, okay, this came out. But it's like, to me, I want to just let's step back from the narrative. And you, Sean, you and I have talked about this before, where to me, in this whole taking a side thing is there's this narrative out there that said we're talking about this particular thing, and the left is over here going, I'm right, and then the right side's over here saying no, I'm right. But what I want to do is pick the narrative itself out and go like, wait a second, are we even talking about the right narrative? And to me, one of the things that's part of this narrative that I think needs to be discussed is the fact that my president got on TV for 2 weeks and looked me in the eye and vis-a-vis the camera and said that it was something. He lied to me. And all of them lie. I get it. I'm not saying it's like, oh my gosh,
all presidents lie to the camera.
They all lie.
Bush lied to the UN to get the rest of the world on our side to go to Iraq.
Right.
Right wing ain't upset about that.
But the thing is, but see, here's the other part. But I can say the same. See, but here's the part. Not to defend him, but I can also say like, what was he quoting? He was quoting CIA intelligence.
Correct.
No different than what Obama's quoting with Benghazi, right? So it's like going like, okay,
but
so
the conspiracy was that this was negligence, that this happened because of negligence, and then when they were informed it was happening, they did nothing. They still can't prove any of that, but they keep saying it so much to where people think it's true. And today that old guy from the Bush administration with the big white mustache, the UN hater guy, John Bolton, I think his name is, went out and said, I hope they find that there was a conspiracy in the Benghazi thing. Even he doesn't have proof. He's saying, well, I hope they find one.
Exactly.
Which I think you just proved what I'm trying to say. There's a belief of, I hope the president doesn't have our best interests in heart. That's really sick.
Right, because it does come down to power. It comes down to, and that's just, it's funny. I mean, I think that's just, and let's take it another step back, because you and I are both, kind of hippie types, and you sit there and go like, what's wrong with the world right now? It's just like, no, everybody has a position. You have to have a position. You have to say, okay, this is what I believe, and then you stick your feet in the mud and you say like, no, I'm never going to change my thing, and don't prove me wrong, and if you start proving me wrong, then I'm going to attack your personality, and I'm going to, and all those other things. So it's like going, okay, let's all breathe.
No.
Let's all breathe. Let's not point fingers anymore. Can we have a conversation and say, you know what? If you're a guy on the right and it's your man, let's take the my guy theory out of it.
All right.
Take the my guy theory out of it and have an open and honest conversation. We're going to do the same thing next week, Tuesday at noon with Take Liberty with Lawrence Carnicelli. And, of course, guys, for the next week, please, 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 slower traffic. Keep right.
When the man comes around, the hairs on your...
I'm Gary Forsberg from the Visionary Radio News Center. Mayor Alan Arakawa's next County on Your Corner will be held on Thursday, May 9th from noon to 2 p.m. at the Mitchell Paoli Center in Kaunakakai, Molokai. Joining Arakawa at this County on Your Corner event will be Council Member Stacey Helm-Servillo, as well as members of Mayor Arakawa's cabinet, such as Housing and Human Concerns Director Joanne Ridow, Mayor's Executive Assistant Zeke Kalua, and Assistant Communications Director Ryan Piros. Marcy Greenwood, who drew high praise and strong criticism during her 4 years at the helm of the University of Hawaii system, has announced she will retire in September to spend more time with family and deal with health problems. Greenwood's contract was set to expire July 31st, 2015. Welfare fraud is costing state taxpayers about $48 million a year. KHON2 reports that the recovering economy has yet to trickle down to the state's neediest families, and unfortunately, many are taking advantage of the system. DHS officials say they need to restore the 16 fraud investigation positions that were cut during the recession. From the Visionary Radio News Center, I'm Gary Forsberg.
KAOI AM Kihei 1110 and translator K224AG Maui 96.7 FM.
It's 1 o'clock.